Hello, everybody. Welcome to part 8 of Lab 64. This turned out to be quite a long lab, but I assure you, you don't have to know how to do this long a lab to pass the CKAD exam. It's not that hard. But you do need to know maybe if you're given as part of the lab with 2 or 3 sections, you should be able to do that. Last time when I left and in the part 7, I was struggling with an error that I will repeat here, and I had to do a little bit of research and a little bit of thinking about this problem to remember something. So let's first go back to the error. The error was saying it does not get the selector right in the template section. So then I thought more about it, and then I went back to the requirement, and it says the container should use the label app equals foo. That cannot be true because I will show you container has no such thing. Container has no such thing. It does not have metadata, so it does not have labels. Then I remembered for deployment, the whole point of deployment is to match pods that have certain labels. You see, in the spec section, it says selector, match labels, right? If you create a deployment that has a selector of foo equals bar. If you outside the deployment, if you create a pod with the same label, it will grab that and make it part of the deployment. That's the whole point of deployment and how it selects pods, right? So that's what I got wrong, I think. So I will try that now. And this has to match. You see, even in the example in the Kubernetes.io website, the selector has a label, match label this. And the pods that are creating via the template has the same label. They have to match because that's the whole point of a deployment selector. So let's go back to our file. And first of all, in the template section, we must have this because each deployment must have this selector selection, right? So I don't see the word selector. I thought I saw that. Metadata, that's fine. Selector, here you go. So under spec, I must have this. So under spec of the deployment itself. So here's the deployment under spec. I must have a selector. There you go. This is what we want. So the thing they're talking about is app equals foo. So this is where I must change app equals foo. So that's how it's going to select. Now under the pod, which is this, right? Pods. Let's see how that's defined under template. Under template, you have this. Under template, I'm going to remove what I have to match what it should be. So under template, I must have something that matches what I just put over here. So metadata, labels, app equals foo. Again, I want to read, let's see if this works. If it worked, then I will explain one more time how this works. So let's see. Okay, finally it worked. The reason why it worked is because when you create a deployment, you must have a selector. What kind of pod will be behind this deployment? And that definition has to be defined in the selector. And then when you're creating the pods here, you also have to have the same exact definition because otherwise you're creating pods that do not match what the deployment is going to grab. So that's where my mistake was. So let's do some sanity check here. K get deployment, and we should have one running here. And then let's see K get pods, and their pods is continue. So it's when it says continue creating, that means it got scheduled, right? So that means we don't have a scheduling issue. That means our nodeAffinity worked. Let's do a describe on the pod on the deployment. Deployment foo-deploy, I think. What was the name? No, foo-redis. Foo-redis. And here's all the details. So let's see, look, that's the port. And CPU is 300. That means 3 out of 1,000. Anyway, I hope you found this lab useful. This was a really long lab. And if you do find it useful, please like and subscribe. That helps me with the YouTube algorithm. And I will see you in CKAD Lab 65.